Coming up, long-time listener Chris Cooke joins us to get hands-on with the Monarch from APH and HumanWare.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Happy New Week, Shaun Preece.
Happy New Week to you, sir. What's been going on? How was your weekend?
It was good. I watched a movie. Yeah.
Well done.
I bought,
Getting out there.
I should say I bought a movie because I had to buy it.
Why? Did you not have Netflix or other streaming services that are available?
Well, it's not available on any of those yet, and I wanted to watch it. It's a movie called Juror Number 2.
Boring.
Which is,
Okay.
You can't play your own sound effects in. That's not how this works.
Sorry.
No, it was very interesting. It was a thriller. I was thrilled.
Terrible. I want something that makes me feel happy, not tense and distressed. What's the matter with you?
I can't
What
do
is your
happy.
problem?
What is my problem?
Okay.
How long have you got? Look, I'm told 56 minutes actually in my ear, so yeah, we probably shouldn't get into that. But no, it was a really good film. I had to buy it because the only way to get it with AD, audio description, was to buy it. That was the only option.
Question. Where do you buy your movies or TV shows from?
Generally from Apple. So through the Apple TV app, I guess. It used to be you had iTunes and you had...
Well, it still is on my iPhone, isn't it? I'm sure it's still the iTunes store.
You got to go through the Apple TV app now, and then there's a library option there. You can see what you've bought. They've merged them all into one. In fact, they still have the icons for the movies and the TV stores on the Apple TV, at least up until recently. They may have removed them more recently, but they had them on there for a long time. And when you went into it, it would say... can't really use this anymore. You got to go into the Apple TV app. I was like, well, why is it even there?
I remember. Yeah, well, it's just, for the older folk out there, maybe confused and lost, like me and you, Stephen.
Yeah. Where's all my stuff?
It's funny, though, right? Because I'm exactly the same. I won't buy anything outside of the Apple store when it comes to TVs and whatever else. TV shows and movies, I should say. Because... I just, why would you, right? Because there's some stuff on Amazon Prime. I think, oh, yeah, I could buy it there, but I don't. I want everything in one space because it's a pain. Just want to browse it in one place, I don't want to have to, I think that one's in this app or that one's over there. It's a bit like the smart home in that I've got 1,000 different apps for 1,000 different brands of smart plugs because, it's not all universal. It's a pain. I'm going to give you this, Stephen Scott, and I've been saying this for years. We should have, like we've got an email address, your Outlook or your Gmail, there should be a media box where you put all this stuff that we buy and you can access it from anywhere. It should all live in one place. ShaunPreece@movies.com or whatever it is, I don't know. And that should be my media place and everything can access it from there.
I like that. Shaun's Media Box. I like that.
.com. Let's look up that domain right now.
Someone else taking it. As soon as this show's finished, someone else got it. No, I mean, that's a great idea. I agree because the amount of times I buy a movie or something and I'm a bit scatterbrained on this stuff, I'll tend to just think, because look, I'm chasing the audio description, right? So I'm always thinking, if that's got it there, I'll get it here and that's brilliant. And then I can buy it. But you're right. Then I think, where did I buy this? Where did I get it from?
You forget about it. You forget even that I bought that. Yeah, there's some real strange stuff on some of my libraries I noticed. But,
you were telling me over the weekend that Microsoft, I didn't even know this, Microsoft has its own kind of Apple TV-like offering.
Well, so let me stop you there, Apple fanboy. You could argue Apple have a Microsoft-like film and TV app.
No one's making that argument, mate. I'm telling you right now, no one is making that. I had never even heard of this thing you're talking about.
Yes, well, on Windows, there is the Films and TV app, or if you're outside of the UK, Movies and TV app, which you could do exactly that. You could buy any movies or any media.
No one's ever done that, ever.
Well, hence probably the decision by Microsoft to stop it, cancel it. They're discontinuing the Films and TV app. I don't exactly know what that means for people that have already purchased their media on there. I'm assuming it's going to... Just think if you had a whole library, right, at one point. What if you got an Xbox and you've been buying it through there?
If you're the type of person that bought your entire movie and TV collection via the Microsoft app, then you're very boring.
Right. Listen here, sir. You wait till Apple says, yeah, you know what? Nah, we're not doing the media stuff anymore. Forget it. And get rid of it. What will you say then when your entire library goes?
I will be up in arms, but that's because I've bought lots of stuff from there. I haven't bought... Who on earth is buying stuff on the Microsoft? I mean, apps, yes. And I don't know how many apps I've ever bought from there. Most of them seem to be free, the ones I'm wanting. So, you know, I just don't see the... I don't know. It's not the place I would go. I mean, I wouldn't think, oh, do you know, I fancy watching a movie tonight. I'm going to go into the Microsoft film store. It depends
what ecosystem you're in, right? If you're just all into your Windows laptops and your Xbox, then it's absolutely the only ecosystem.
Beige suit and sit down and watch my film. It'll be great. Eating my beige popcorn.
I'm pretty sure your media will still be available to you if you do want to watch it on the Microsoft Film and TV store. I'm just not entirely sure for how long. But,
no one cares. Right, moving on. So, I'm bored already. I will tell you this. First off, let's say Chris Cooke is coming up on the show. Long-time listener. I want to say a huge fan, but I'll let her speak for herself. But she is going to be joining us to talk all about the amazing product, the Monarch multi-line braille display, which we have not really ever talked about that much on the show. Of course, we've made reference to it. We've had Andrew Flatteres on from HumanWare. We've talked about this device. But it's a very difficult device to kind of think about in the review sense because of the price tag, right? You're talking... You know, depending, I think the US dollar price is like $18,000 or $17,000. I mean, you know, let's get real here. You know, who's buying this? Realistically, who's buying it? Yeah, of course you have. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It does make me slightly tense to talk about this because it's really hard. Because, you know, people are, and have done, come back and say, well, who on earth is going to have one of those?
But it's kind of important we talk about it, right? It is important we mention these things because, look, you know, lots of technology is outside our reach. And you know, it's like, you know, to a millionaire, $10 is nothing. But to someone with nothing, $10 is everything, right? So it's all dependent on who you are, where you are, and how much money you've got. You know, you might be putting money aside. I do read people on Facebook who are, you know, seriously considering, you know, taking out a loan or, you know, trying to find some finance for this because they really want it. And what I kind of want to understand today is what is the attraction? What is the draw? Why? What does it mean to have this device? And Chris has one. She's had it now for 2 months and she's going to talk about that. We're going to get into the whole world of tactile images because it's moved on a lot. I mean, the days, and maybe Chris will know this, but, you know, there was a machine that I remember at school which, you know, would sit beside me and it used to heat up to the point you could, you know, cook your dinner in it.
Well, that's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean,
that would create the images, you know, or it wouldn't create images. It was just basically taking line drawings and just
it was embossed lines. But the thing is that it does seem like tactile graphics has really moved on to I don't know, a new stage now. It's like it's the rock and roll star of the braille world. Tactile graphics now, everything's going that way.
Should we talk about Glidance? Because they're in the news a little bit. Well, I say they're in the news. We're putting them in the news because that's what we do here. So Glidance have announced a major new funding round. They've just finished up, which has brought them in an extra $4 million, which is kind of amazing.
You're welcome.
Frankly. Yes, it was all our doing. And former executives from OpenAI and SpaceX have funded, are part of the team here, have been funding and putting money into this funding round, which is kind of amazing and shows you the kind of people who are seeing this device for what it is, an amazing device. You know, not just, of course, for us. I mean, the whole mobility story and getting around with AI and robotics, it's an amazing story. But just the technology that Amos and his team have managed to create here, you know, is really getting strong attention.
Okay, I may be being a little bit controversial here, and I don't mean to be. Why do you think it's important it's from OpenAI and SpaceX? Rather than just the 4 million. I think the 4 million investment in Glidance is absolutely amazing.
The money speaks more than anything else. But
it speaks,
But I think my thinking is these guys that they're attracting with their investment, I imagine are going to bring more than just investment in money terms. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
That's very true. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Was that the right answer? There you go.
It was, yes. I was testing you,
Thank you.
and you passed. Yes, it's all about It's also about the connections that those investors can bring, obviously. So, yeah, very good.
Yeah, we'll be able to go to the moon
Glide in
with
space.
our glide.
Yes.
Yeah, glide in space. That sounds like if Glidens were ever to start a streaming service, they could have some pretty good shows on there. I think Glide in Space.
Oh, here we go.
Glide in Shopping
Mall. You
Mall.
paid yourself into a corner here. Yeah.
We'll think about that one on Friday. We'll get around the table on Friday on that one. But it just is so interesting to see this, and of course, not just that. Of course, the big thing is the next stage, I guess, is to move into the plans for this 2026 rollout. We know, of course, it's been delayed till then, and the hope is that from spring onwards they'll start to roll out these devices. Now, they have said in this recent release to people who've pre-ordered that they're going to halt the production, well, not so much the production, but the rollout to the US, the UK, and Canada only at launch. So they're saying that they're going to roll out in these three countries first. They're going to halt their European rollout for now. Don't know what the reasons are for that. Possibly they're thinking, let's just get devices into hands. Let's get started.
No, they do state that they want to keep this manageable, right? I mean, you think about it. I mean, just the US and Canada is it's a huge market anyway, right? So trying to keep on top of that on your initial first rollout is going to be really, really difficult anyway. So, yeah, it's like we keep seeing with even software, the phased slow rollouts. It's to keep it all manageable.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's going to be a lot of people upset in Europe, right? Because I don't know how many people will have been able to pre-order, but I imagine it was pitched as maybe not worldwide, but it was, if I remember right, it was pretty open in terms of pre-orders, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you wanted to see, you wanted to stress test everything that's in place, the infrastructure, right? Can it cope with that? If you rolled it out globally straight away and then it suddenly fell over, everyone would be up in arms. So, I mean, it makes sense to me. Saying that, even if it falls over in the US and Canada and the UK, people aren't going to be happy. But it makes total sense, right? I'm surprised it's even just not US only at this point.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised at that, actually. That would not have surprised me. It would have angered me. Honestly,
Really?
It would have angered. Yeah, because of course I want to hear. I'm sick hearing about this where, your product comes along and it's... No, are you kidding me? I want this thing now. I don't want to wait forever. And, there's lots of people in Europe and I think in other parts of the world will be saying, well, we want this too. So, there might be a little bit of pushback on that. But I think it's interesting they're deciding to do this. Obviously, they are having to manage expectations here a little bit. Not so much, I think, in terms of the technology. They're putting a lot of effort into that. But I think they're having to think about, okay, how are we going to make it so that we can have enough of these devices, getting them out there? And since this is a device which is quite unusual in the sense that, we're moving, this is a whole new category, right? So we're moving into a world where, as a blind person, I'm putting my cane down. I'm, not using my guide dog. And I'm trusting this thing.
Yes.
And that is a huge shift. So taking the time over it makes sense to, take the time to make sure this is working. Obviously, we know it's working. They're doing all that work right now. They've been doing these tests. They've been doing these demo days for months, for years now. And they're seeing the results of that. But, it's going to take a long time for people to trust it fully. So I guess the feedback pool being smaller, although US, UK, Canada is not exactly small.
It's huge.
But, it gives them a chance to measure it out.
How many's going to be available on the initial rollout anyway? I'm waiting for all the third-party accessories to come out as soon as the Glide hits the streets. That where almost like a sword thing where I can put my cane behind my back to carry it just in case, and all those clips you can add onto your Glide. So you can add your cane or whatever, or a little basket for your guide dog. I don't know, but there's going to be some out there.
Also, they're planning a beta. Yeah.
You just left that, did you?
No. I want to mention the beta rollout.
A basket for your guide dog. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm all for accessories,
Thanks.
right? I want lights on it. I want all kinds of stuff. I'm with you on this, right? I also kind of just want it to do what I want it to do, right? I just want it to be the amazing guide that I think it can be. I know I'm very serious about this, but I'm really excited about this. I'm really genuinely excited about this product. I think this is going to be really cool. But yeah, they're rolling out a beta plan, which I'm really hoping I can get onto this because that gets you I mean, it's not going to roll out till the start of next year alongside the rollout of pre-orders. But the plan is there'll be like a beta testing group, I guess, testing new features and upcoming features as well. That would be something to be interested in because, you kind of wonder, where's this going to go, right? What's the long-term plan going to be for this? It's not going to be just, it comes out, this is it. They're going to be adding new features. They've got lots of plans.
And they did mention I think there was 3 things there that have been pointed out to them from their feedback that people are most sort of anxious about. And that was, sidewalks and crossings and finding crossings, crossing the street. So that's what they're going to be focusing in on, making sure that's rock solid in the beta testing. I understand they're starting in actually September. In Seattle with a select few. So it is starting now then, as you said, next year for a further rollout of beta testers. So it's getting closer and closer.
And it's got a name. They've given it a name.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started. Okay,
so this was not Glidance themselves. I think they had a bit of a competition for this. And there was a bunch of people, gave their suggestions. The winning name... Oh, hang on, we need to do this, don't we? We've got to do it properly. Wait for this. It's Rover.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I think companies should have learned by now, never let your audience decide the name of anything. Rover? That's awful, isn't it?
I'm so sorry. I like the name.
I'm so sorry to the winners, by the way, but
yeah, well done.
Rover? That is terrible. You might as well called it Spot or Fido or something. Terrible.
You know what they should have called it? That's what they should have called it. Yeah, Fido. I love that name, but actually you should have think about what it is. Findo.
Or Find Go.
Or Blind Go. Blinder.
Or
actually, you know what? Don't use Blinder because Blinder's the name of my dating app for blind people that I want to set up one day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
No. Okay. You think I'm going to manage to do it? Unless AI can, if ChatGPT can understand anything I'm saying, then it can build the app, but I'm not doing it. But no, that's the name. Rover's the name of it. I hope there's a female version comes out because, Rover's very male. I want to see a female version.
Sexist. And
well, actually, I believe that the initial one, there was 2 editions that came out when they were doing the beta or the alpha or whatever
alpha
version we were on when I got a chance. And they said that one was called Marie, which is the name of my wife. Now, it was not named after Marie, my wife. I should point that out. I don't have that kind of power around here.
Oh.
But it was called Marie, and I thought that was wonderful. And you were rather annoyed about this. I remember at CSUN you were kind of annoyed about this.
Why was I annoyed?
Because you wanted it to be called Sarah. Because I said, thank you so much. I remember we were talking to Luke and I said, thank you so much for calling it this name because you've now made my trip back home a lot more pleasant because I can tell my wife that the device is named after her. A little lie, but that's okay. Yeah. And you were annoyed because you couldn't come home and say the same to your partner.
No, it's funny though. So Sarah was really annoyed when I said she should change her name to Rover. That didn't go down well, but anyway, let's quickly move on.
Rover Preece. That sounds good, actually. Sounds like some kind of 50s detective.
That sounds like an American name if ever I've heard one.
No, maybe not a detective. Maybe a reporter. Like
a roving Rover Preece reporter. That's hard to say.
Anyway,
Glide is nearly here.
It's nearly here. Yeah, I'm still not sure about the whole steps thing. This stairs thing does bother me a little bit.
Let it go.
Oh yeah, let it go. It'll be fine. Just go tumbling down the stairs with a $1,500 machine in my hand.
I found Frozen. That was the movie. I had Frozen in my library. I've never bought Frozen in my life. I've never seen Frozen. How was that in there? Anyway, sorry.
What, did you buy it on Microsoft Films and TV, did you?
Maybe I did. Who knows? Commodore 64. I don't know. Yeah, I bought it.
Love that band. Right, okay. Let's move on because I have a new obsession in my life.
Oh?
And that is NVDA Add-Ons.
Oh, you know what? You drive me absolutely mad.
So good. Boring. No, it's not. This is good. There's so many cool things in there.
Welcome to the party. I mean,
I know. I've just discovered this world. Honestly,
talk about this stuff and nothing. Not interested.
I'm not interested.
Whatever.
No, it's the old thing, until you get interested in it. There I am downloading pretty much every add-on, realizing that was a bad idea. Because then you have to learn all the commands. Then I learned that there's this thing in there called input gestures, and you can, you can change them. You can. I did manage to screw that up pretty royally though.
That was an interesting call that I got.
Yeah, I called you to say, I've managed to turn my it was my down arrow key, into a mute button for my microphone, which was halfway close to what I was trying to achieve. Didn't really, it was the most complicated fix I ever had in my life because I could only go up, left, or right in every menu.
Reset factory defaults. That's the thing that always saves
Thankfully,
us.
as you said, the tab key saved me that day. But no, it's amazing the stuff you can do. And it's funny, with that Keychron keyboard I've got, one of the challenges is that the software I was mentioning is not particularly accessible, but the 4 function keys that sit at the top right above the numpad, you can actually customize that. There's nothing assigned to them. So I can assign them within, say, NVDA input gestures or anywhere else, I guess, to whatever I want. So I was able to set one to be my mute, unmute for my microphone. I set the other 2 to select my audio output, my playback device. And so you can go through the different devices and it'll tell you if it's muted or what volume level it's at. And then the 4th button I use to set that device. So if I want to have my headphones with the audio coming out of them, I can select that and then press the button, or I can select my speakers. I'm very excited by this.
You are, yes. And that's all through an add-on called Audio Manager. Audio Manager. I've used this actually. It uses usually, I know you've customized your keys, but by default, it uses the number pad. And you can change your recording device, your playback device. But the thing I've been using is you can switch through all your running applications on your Windows PC. And then once you find the application, then you can change the recording device or playback device specifically for that app. And the reason that was really cool is because, as Stephen ranted about recently, the new WhatsApp beta isn't particularly great when it comes to screen reader accessibility.
No.
And you cannot, or at least I couldn't find a way, and I've tried all the screen readers, to change the recording devices or the audio devices. Can't do it. But using this add-on, all I do is move the application to WhatsApp and then choose my devices using the add-on, and it's perfect. So, yeah, it's really cool. But there's so many add-ons like that, Stephen Scott.
I know, Shaun Preece. I know, and I'm going to learn about all of them. I'm so excited. Tony's Enhancements, by the way, was the one that I got, which had that mute unmute. Audio Manager has it as well. I think it's built in there as well. But Tony's Enhancements was the one I found, and it has like lots and lots of different scripts for, kind of as he or whoever Tony is. I'm a lovely guy, I'm sure. But
Big Tony
puts together all this stuff. And, it's basically a collection of little things that wouldn't necessarily make it into their own add-on, but it's a great idea. Got to say, I love the add-on store. I think it's amazing. Right, look, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Chris Cooke is going to join us in a minute, and we're going to talk all about the wonderful world of tactile graphics, and in particular, how she is really, using the latest and greatest technology, and it's making a big difference to her. We're going to talk to Chris about the Monarch multi-line braille display next.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
Okay, now, recently on the show, we told you about an event in Amsterdam all around tactile reading and graphics. And to me, Shaun, seems like we're moving into this new area of conversation. We've talked a lot about Braille, and we've talked about the value of Braille, but the next step here is how Braille is giving people access to images, to graphics. This is a new area and a new emerging field, isn't it?
It's a new era for tactile graphics. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It feels like there was a few different stages, right? We have Braille, and then, it was all the talk was on multi-line Braille, and it feels like now we've moved on to tactile graphic displays, whatever form that may take. I remember back in the day when I used to think about tactile graphics, there was a special place at college used to go, which was like a furnace, and the smell of melting plastic. I can't remember what the machine was called, but it used to do your charts for you, your bar charts or whatever else. That was the only option for tactile graphics, and it has, there's been a lot of movement.
I went to a very cold school because heating cost money. And I remember that machine. I used to sit beside it, actually, and almost fall asleep in the class because it was so nice and toasty. I was like, basically, I turned into a cat. in the middle of my school day. It was brilliant.
Can't remember what it's called.
I know I can't remember either, but maybe our guest will remember this and tell us the answer to this. Chris Cooke is joining us, a vocational rehabilitation specialist and known to us, of course, as being part of the Unmute gang. And, of course, being here on Double Tap many times, including at CSUN. Lots of people referring to you, Chris, in our emails and saying, how much they enjoyed hearing you during our CSUN coverage. Lovely to have you back on the show.
Thank you so much. It's so awesome to be here.
We are talking about this evolution of tactile graphics. Do you remember that machine we're talking about? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yes. Yeah, it's a thermoform machine. At least that's what they call them here.
Thermoform.
That's not the word I'm remembering.
Oh,
I can't remember what it was. That's annoying me. 3 a.m. I'll be jumping up and down and saying I remember this, but I can't remember it right now. Okay, so look, this is an interesting topic because, like I was saying in the introduction there, this has evolved, hasn't it? Tactile graphics have evolved,
yes.
And Braille is helping that along.
It really is. I mean, back in the day when I was in school, which was way too many years ago, people would put together things with clay and string and sticks and, whatever would work, I think. And then we had some way of drawing some things with some primitive tools and running them off on that machine that kept you warm, Stephen. And we really, I just remember geometry books that would have simple geometry shapes, squares, circles, polygons, and cubes that came out of the page, supposedly. And I had to try to figure out how that 2D meant 3D, really. And, drawing was really primitive. Everybody had to do everything by hand. And so it was just a long time ago. I'm going to tell you, it was 50 years ago. I'm going to say. I think.
Keep it secret.
Just say 20. No one will care. It's fine. Just say 20.
Oh, we need a timeline here for these things, really, to appreciate it, don't you think?
Well, actually, that's a good point because I'm saying it's a new era for tactile graphics, but is it? Mm-hmm. How long has it been that technology has played a part? When I say technology, I'm sort of talking the Braille display technology, I suppose. But how long has it been for tactile graphics to really move on from the thermoform machines or whatever they were?
Right. Yeah, I think then there's some other fancier machines. They call it a PEOF machine, PEOF, I think. I don't know what it stands for. It stands for something. That's its affectionate name around our agency. But there are some things that as soon as we could draw graphics, I suppose, or create them on Braille translation software programs, then as soon as those could be converted into, images that could be recognized or embossed by a Braille embosser, then we really made leaps and bounds. And I couldn't tell you what year that was, but there have been tactile graphics software out there for a while. And mostly it was to be embossed on paper. And so you had to have access to an embosser and the people that knew how to run the programs. So, yep. But
and
I remember.
Well, I was going to ask you about the sort of evolution here because it feels to me like when we talk about devices like the Monarch or the Dot Pad, we're talking about devices which are giving people access to multi-line Braille, which is, of course, a big deal, but also that access to the graphics by touch and, of course, refreshable graphics as well, right? So it's not like you're getting that single sheet of paper with the triangles and the polygons and all the rest of it on it.
Right.
It's something that can change. It's something that can be dynamic. It can be included, especially in the classroom or the workplace.
Yep, definitely. That is the game changer. Something refreshable, something that I can create a graphic, say with our favorite friend ChatGPT, and I'll feel it a couple of minutes later, having loaded it in to the Monarch. And so it's just in almost real time, or very close to it, people can have graphics pushed to a dynamic device. And so that's really, really the game changer here, I think.
And not only that, it's the layout. Right, you can have images and Braille and everything else sort of just mixed in. It's the free form nature of it. It's just the freedom that we haven't had before when it comes to these sort of,
Yeah, it's called eBraille, and they're moving toward that new standard of how to combine graphics with text. And Treasure Island is one of the, I think, first books to be produced. It's up on APH's website, but it will give you graphics and text so that you can feel the Treasure Island graphic and then move to the story. So, which is really cool.
How meaningful are those graphics to you? I mean, these particular graphics, for example, with Treasure Island, and we're going to talk about your experience with the Monarch today. But,
yes,
when you're using a device like this to get images, how representative, how real do these images feel to you? Do you understand, essentially, I'm guessing I'm getting at here, do you understand what you're feeling? Do you understand the image?
I would say in the case of the Treasure Island, there's a little key that tells you what different things mean, different parts of the landscape and that sort of thing. And that's really helpful. That graphic didn't mean as much to me right now at present because I haven't really studied it a lot. But I do think that common objects or things with which I'm familiar, or if I'm oriented to a particular graphic or I kind of know what I'm expecting, that's really helpful.
It's just the question I was going to ask Stephen, because I remember, I mentioned having bar charts made for me that are accessible, but back then I was low vision. I didn't use braille, and honestly, just trying to use, tactile nature of it, I really, really struggled to get the information from it. I couldn't really translate what I was feeling to a visual image, and I wondered, if that's something you pick up. Because, as someone who still doesn't use braille, I write braille, but I don't read braille. I'm wondering, would I really struggle with something like this to actually, I can't make out what that is, or I can't visualize it. Is it a skill you actually pick up?
I think so, because so I have no vision and I've never seen before, but I consider that I might have a bit more experience or sort of acumen with these different tactile graphics just because I know I'd be a visual learner. So part of it is, would you be a visual learner anyway? And I know of studies that say that braille connects with the reading braille, connects with the visual cortex. And so that's one thing. But I think also it's somebody introducing you to the very basics of what you are feeling. I think it takes more education or introduction on the front end to really understand, because I know people can learn to read these graphics. It's just no one's ever taught them step by step how to approach a graphic that they're feeling.
If you had no vision, you always had no vision.
Right.
So I wonder how you get to the idea that you'd be a visual learner.
Oh, yes. Well, that's a good question. So I've taken a fair number of, so I have a medical degree background, and I have taken a fair number of visually oriented classes in lab where you're working with fine things under microscope or you're looking at X-ray images or whatnot. And I'm able to, through probably tactile graphics, through somebody explaining what things look like, I'm able to turn the image around in my mind and think about it. Okay, now we're looking at it from the side, and now we're looking at it from the top, or it's a cross section. And so in order to pass the exams that I did in my program, I had to pepper the lab assistant who was giving me my exam with various questions so that I could determine what we were looking at, because they couldn't tell me. But I had to discern what we were looking at by all the 20 questions that I asked. And so that's why I'm very confident that I would be a visual learner, because I'm able to turn those quote unquote images, or I guess this is wild feel things in my mind, turn them around in my mind so that I can think about them from different perspectives.
It's so funny, it's one of those things. What, you managed to work with X-rays? It's like when someone asks us, what, you can use a computer? Yeah, a sighted person. I'm thinking the same thing. There's no such thing as a silly question, as we know, but wow, that blows my mind.
Well, I actually didn't, of course, I couldn't read them, but I would have to ask so many questions to determine on the exam, what were we looking at? Were we looking at a fracture or a clean break, or, that's no fun to talk about. But, it's just a matter of what are we looking at here so that I know how to answer the question. And so, yeah.
It's interesting to me, this topic, because it's a fairly new topic to me, certainly to think about. And we always try to apply it to our own lives, right? We think, well, okay, how's this going to affect me? And I'm not a medical person. That may not surprise you. I'm not particularly smart in any sensible way. So, I think, okay, how am I going to use any of this? So I'm just, I remember the first time I got a dot pad, I was just excited that I knew what the camera icon looked like on the iPhone, because it popped up and I was like, oh, that's what the camera, I suppose it makes sense. It's a camera. But,
Sure.
and then I was immediately going through all the other apps to see what kind of designs they had on the apps. But
Yes.
I think we often talk about tactile graphics, and when we go to conferences or we hear these events, we talk about them in a kind of cold way, like it's around education or it's around, workplace. And, these are kind of cold topics in some ways because these are the kind of harsh realities of stuff that need to be done. These are important things, right? But there's a personal side to this, I think, which is, and I'm seeing a little bit more of this, where people are starting to understand what faces look like and, being able to look at their own pictures through these kind of devices. You can get a sense of someone. It's not going to give you an exact or perfect sense of what someone looks like, but it might give you an idea of what your grandfather or your great-grandmother might have looked like back then. It gives you a sense, doesn't it? And I think that's where this technology can really become personal.
Sure. And I think there is many use cases for this, as there are people who use the graphics. As for me, in my daily work, I've found a tremendous use for them so far. I've had the Monarch now for a little over 2 months' time, and it's been an absolute joy to use it. And what I started out doing is asking ChatGPT to create line drawings of all the icons on the home screen, because not having a dot pad yet, maybe it'd be great, cool to get one.
That next on the list,
shiny,
is it?
shiny thing, yes. I wanted to know what those graphics look like, and I had no idea that there were no printed labels. So when I'm working with a low vision student, like yesterday, I might say, okay, you're going to find that app that looks like an envelope. Okay. If I know that it looks like an envelope, I believe that's the mail app, then I know how to tell the low vision student what they're looking for. But if I just say, look for the mail app, if they don't know how to use an iPhone or they have some other challenges, they don't know how to find the app I'm looking for. So knowing what they're all shaped like, knowing that the books app is like an open book, and that was kind of fun, knowing what these things feel like, look like. And then I asked Chat to describe each icon. And then I always check with Ira to make sure, that Chat's doing his job. And so, and then also another couple of uses that were really fantastic is, so I have several students for whom English is not their native language. And some of them are just really barely speaking English in some cases. And so when I'm teaching them Braille fractions, for instance, I can show them the fraction bars. I can show them the glass that's half full. And I can show them things that are shaded and not shaded. And then I can have them feel the Braille next, on the piece of paper that we're reading. And it will say the fraction. I have a student, I was trying to find out his experience with knowing what printed music looks like, and his English is limited. And so I was asking him, through letting him feel the different shapes of the music notes, okay, do you know this one, 4 beats, whole note? And he was very adamant that he knew this. And so, but without the ability to let him feel the tactile graphics of the music notes or the staff lines, I would be hard pressed to get that question across, given where he is with his English. But now I know what he knows. So this is real life. This could have been on a piece of paper from an embosser, but I'm just really blessed to have it on the surface of my Monarch.
Yeah, and this is really powerful stuff. I mean, what you're talking about there is really giving people a real sense of things. And I remember talking to someone who said that, as a blind person who'd never seen anything at all ever, blind since birth, that they were able to use the Monarch display to understand the difference in height between a skyscraper and a tree.
Yes.
Like these perspectives that you just cannot reach up and figure out for yourself in life. You can't just go out and feel your way up to the top of a tree and, at the same time, feel your way up to the top of a skyscraper. Bad idea for blind people. Shouldn't do it. Do not
Right.
try that at home.
Don't limit them. We can do whatever
I know,
we
I know,
want.
I know. You can live
It's
whatever
off a
life you
ladder.
want,
You can do
but
it.
please don't climb up trees or skyscrapers, please.
No.
But I mean that thing about perspective, things that we just,
Yeah,
like color's another one that comes up a lot. That's slightly
Yeah,
different, but
definitely.
in particular with tactile graphics, that ability to be able to get perspective on life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Another example of perspective is it's kind of a silly example, but I ran across some Star Wars things. So I
Uh-oh.
didn't know what R2D2 and C3PO looked like. And I
Oh.
found out I think the little R2D2 guy is about half the height of C3PO. So it was really funny. Like, I didn't know what those little characters looked like, but I went to the opening movie in 1977, but it didn't mean anything to me because I couldn't see it. And
It's so
yeah.
interesting. Both of you have almost you're almost apologetic about, I tried this and I know it seems frivolous, Stephen with the icons and Chris with the Star Wars, but it's not at all. It's massive, that.
Yeah.
I always think of it like a bit of a video gamer back in the day. And there used to be, like, if there was a map of your game world, if there were places you hadn't been yet, it was fogged out. You couldn't see it.
Right.
And it's called a map of fog or whatever it was called. And we live so much of our life in that there's so much of
Yes.
it that's not visual, and you just sort of, okay, it's just there, I just ignore it. And being able to see something like those app icons, right? It does open up. Chris, you gave a great example of how you could use that practically, but just knowing what they are, it just opens up the world for you a little bit. I think it's really cool.
It really does. And anytime I get a chance to learn something new, I love learning. I love taking on new things, new challenges, and anything I can do to expand my world and know something more than I knew 5 minutes ago is just fantastic. I remember one of the first times that I was presented with a tactile graphic on the Monarch last year, I think it was, as it was just coming out. They put up the Eiffel Tower. And that thing goes on for a year and a half. It just is really amazing. And I had no idea there were like little windows and things at the bottom of the building.
I didn't know that.
The little windows at the bottom of the structure, like after the, I guess there's these big supports, on the bottom. And I guess you can, and then of course I asked ChatGPT, like, describe in detail for a person who's blind the Eiffel Tower. And I had Ira check it. And it described everything. And then I found out about the different observation decks. And then Ira helped me locate those on the Monarch. I had them looking at the Monarch graphic. And one of them wasn't terribly obvious because it was getting thicker and skinnier as you go up to the top. But it was really so cool. So when I did my project, my final project for the training that I'm involved in right now with the Monarch, I finished the technical training. And I wrote the project on how to be introducing someone to tactile graphics. And one of them was exploring the Eiffel Tower. And so I put the description in there, and then I told the person how to find the different levels. And it was really, really fascinating. I just loved it because it, as you say, Shaun, it, opens up your world to things you didn't know before. And now I know so much more than I did.
Yeah. And I think
that's so cool.
There's a lot of us out there, and I'm going to include me in this, who, when someone says, what is the icon for calendar on the Mac or whatever, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of say it sometimes to sighted people with that dismissive, how should I know? But it's interesting. What you're saying is, well, I don't know, so I'm going to figure it out. And I love that. I love that intrigue.
Definitely.
And that's, of course, it's doable because of this amazing device, which we must talk about, the Monarch. We've kind of talked around it, and we almost feel apologetic talking about it, don't we? Because the price of this thing is so huge that it feels like, as much as this is wonderful, it's not particularly accessible to a lot of people. It's very limiting, I guess, because of the nature of the device, or the nature of the cost of the device. And hopefully in time, that price will come down. But you know what? Let's just shake that price off for a minute. Let's just try and move past that. You've got it there. You've had it a couple of months. Tell us about it. Tell us about your experience of this thing.
Yeah, so I've gotten it through a project called the RISE Project, which is Resources Inclusive Skills for Employment. And there are 84 of us, I think, in this first phase, and I absolutely feel so blessed and honored to have the use of one. Um, it is based on HumanWare software, APH and HumanWare working together. So it has things like it's a multi-line braille display. As we said, it's 10 lines and 32 cells, but there also the ability to, of course, display the graphics along with the braille. So you could have a braille label on a graphic, or under a graphic, I should say. And so, but besides that, it has other features like the braille editor, the tactile viewer, which displays all those graphics. There's an email program, internet, a word processor, a math program, the file manager, Victor Reader. So it has several different libraries on there. So instead of reading a book one line at a time on of course, usual one-line braille display, you can read it on a full surface. There's a braille terminal. Eventually, successfully, it has connected with NVDA, and JAWS support is forthcoming, and they're working on displaying, more than one line at a time. And then it's based on the Android platform, so there are a lot of other applications that are available, and I'm just kind of loading those right now. And it has Android 13, and so I know that it's usually a couple software packages behind. But one thing that it has even a chess game. Now, I'm not a chess player, but it does have a chess game, and there is a great there's a great tutorial on it that you can also start. And then there's an app that can connect to the iPhone called Wing It, and Wing-It. And it is about drawing things on an iPad or an iPhone, and then they immediately show up on the Monarch. So somebody could draw a tactile graphic, a line drawing, something simple for a student in real time, and it would show up on the Monarch, which is really, really, really cool. So that's those are some of the software programs that that it has to offer. So
wow, can you watch Netflix on it?
You'll have seen it at a time.
I think so. You could probably get to the website on it, but I'm not sure what more. You're going to have tactile graphics of the movie, right?
What's the dimensions of it? How big is this, actually, the hardware itself?
Yeah, so it's about the size of a 16-inch laptop. So I believe it's 16 inches from left to right, and it's about 12 inches from top to bottom. It's a couple inches thick, and it weighs a little over 4 pounds, which is fine with me. I take it with me a lot. I just love it, and so it goes a lot of places with me, and it's really fun to trot out, and people love it. And I have to tell you what I enjoyed putting on it recently. I mentioned chess, but I worked out a way to put a Sudoku puzzle on there, and I brailled it into the braille editor. And then I put out the fact that I did that onto this list that's been formed for multi-line braille display users. And someone picked it up, and in a matter of minutes, up came this email that said, "Hey, I've developed through a little piece of software, it just took me a few minutes, 250 Sudoku puzzles." And so now I'm happily playing Sudoku, and it's really fun. Yep. Yeah. So...
Well, I suppose you've got to find out what you can do with this, right? There's going to be a lot of exploration into the use case and what actually works and what maybe wouldn't work with tactile graphics.
Definitely. So for the graphics, I mean, I always ask chat to draw line drawings for me because they're a lot easier to feel and to take in. For instance, I wanted to develop a logo for a new website that I'm building. So I had it develop the logo, and then I felt the logo just minutes after it was created and thought, oh yeah, I can feel what I was asking for. Now, never mind, it got the braille dots messed up, and I had somebody give me some feedback. By the way, the braille is not correct. And so we fixed that. But in real time, it was really cool. Now, someone else may not have interest in that. Maybe they want to read spreadsheets. I'm really interested and excited about reading spreadsheets because they're really kind of a pain. You have to keep in your mind what you're looking for on the spreadsheet, what column you're in, what's the column header. I mean, you get them to read correctly with JAWS, but it'd be so cool to read a spreadsheet, even a simple one on the Monarch where you have those 10 lines and you could have several columns across depending on what you have in your cells. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to come to that because you're right. There are these other benefits to this. I mean, yes, tactile graphics is part of it, but let's be honest, it is a multi-line braille display, right? So you've got the multi-line capability, which can do obviously reading long passages, reading long documents, but also having access to tables, to spreadsheets.
Yes.
That's really where this is going to stand out, and it clearly is functioning well. I mean, I know there's not many people using them, but everyone who seems to be talking about it is glowing about it, and you seem to be too. You seem to be very happy with it.
Definitely happy with it, and definitely excited about the possibilities of reading those other things. Just to have the simple pleasure, but really amazing, of just reading a book, and not having to constantly go down a line, and then there's a function where you can sort of point and click, where there's a little button on the middle of the Monarch's braille keyboard where you can hold your finger on the display and you can click twice on it, and it's like a mouse click and it activates things. So it makes me feel like, hey, I'm finally a mouse user without a mouse.
Using a touch screen almost.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And just really opening those doors of things that are spatial, even if you say like, okay, what if it's a website and I immediately feel where the headings are, or maybe I'm, like I say, exploring that graph or the spreadsheet. Things that are previously off limits are now possibilities. So.
And what would draw you to the dot pad? I'm not suggesting you would send your Monarch back for it, but I'm wondering what would...
That's not happening.
No, but what would draw you to buy the dot pad then if the Monarch does all this? What does the dot pad do more?
Yeah, so I don't know as much about it. I've seen it briefly, but it was really fun to be able to feel those icons. I didn't have to create them in the first place, which I've needed to do with chat, just so that I could feel them or find a source for them. They were just there, it's meant to display the graphics, is my understanding. So you don't have to create them. You just open up your iPhone, it's connected with your iPhone, and you get to feel the home screen icons. So
would you
it
say
seems
that,
like things in real time? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you say it's like on the dot pad, it's kind of image based first, but it can also be multi-line. Whereas in the Monarch, it's more text first. You can then move to graphics if you want.
I think the Monarch is both, but you need to create your own graphics. Somebody needs to create them. You're not giving a graphical image of something that hasn't previously been created. So with the iPhone or iPad, I would be immediately having access to those icons without having some other program create them for me in the first place.
I'm really glad you came on to talk about this today, because I know it's a difficult topic for us, because we've been toying with whether or not we should talk about this Monarch, because as much as it sounds great, I like to talk about things that are achievable for at least some people. And I don't know how achievable this is, but I know people are, going out and buying this. It's not that no one's buying it. And of course, if you're in the workplace or you're in education, hopefully you'll be able to access it one way or another. I fear that, well, not fear, but I imagine that, it's going to be the kind of thing that'll appear in a library, for example, in a town.
Yes.
And people can go use it. Yeah.
Right. In a museum or a place where a visitor center, in a university, in different places where you can access images or information, I think is great. And then the project is going to be opening up to more people next year. So they're taking a certain number of people for the next, I believe, 2 years, whether they are students or people seeking what we call competitive employment, competitive integrated employment, I believe. And so, they are being opened up, but I think, too, and I'm glad we discussed the tactile graphics in general, because maybe people won't be afraid to explore them, even if it's just, okay, here's the subway station and here's a map of something. Maybe I can understand this now, or starting with, something simpler, but just to, dip your toe in the water of the tactile graphic experience.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Chris, it's been great talking today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
Come back soon.
Absolutely. Would love to.
Thanks, Chris.
It's wonderful to have Chris on the show talking about tactile graphics. She really brought that subject to life in a way I was not expecting to happen.
Oh, she's great, Chris. Yeah, I mean, she knows the information and she puts it across really well. It's, we've mentioned it a couple of times now. It is kind of difficult to talk about because of the price point, but when you hear of what it actually offers, and I think that's the thing we need to concentrate on, just in case people do get access to them, either through some sort of funding scheme or just a local, organization, education, or whatever it may be. It's important to know what it can do. It's, it does sound very cool. It's like the Rolls Royce or Bentley of braille displays by the sounds of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, that's it for us today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for choosing us when there's so many other places you could be right now, and you've chosen to be here. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience. But thank you. Well, thank you as well. Okay, fine. I'll grudgingly give you that. We're back tomorrow with plenty more of your feedback. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.